Good afternoon, everybody. Alex StarCraft here, bringing you guys my second commentary today, and very excited to be doing so. This game is going to be between LiquidZenio or Zenio. I'm not actually entirely sure. I will pronounce it, I guess, Zenio, just because it's more natural for me. And if I'm wrong, I'm very sorry. I'll actually look it up after this replay. I'll try my best to remember. And NightEnD. I'm not actually sure which team he is on, but I have heard of NightEnD before. He's a good protoss player, and Zenio, as of late, becoming a bit more popular. He's kind of come out with a good amount of success recently. And I also forgot to mention in the last replay, all of these games I'm going to be casting today are from the recent IEM Kiev tournament, which many casters have been doing a lot of those. We saw, I think HD did some and Husky did some. They did a whole bunch of the MMA, Damaga, Empire Kaz, and Zenio was in a few of those. I think Zenio Kaz was a replay set as well. And so I'm trying to cast those games that they did not do. I should probably open up the production tab. But I'm trying to cast those games that they did not do. So I've got actually my first best of 3 coming up. This is my best of 3 will be this one between NightEnD and Zenio. So I'm very excited for that. And as I just showed you guys that very nice game between Naniwa and Right Ra, and I've also got, I cannot say White Ra's name, I always want to say Right Ra. My mouth is very dry, so hopefully I can manage to keep up with all of this casting. But I'm trying to think who else I have coming up in the near future. I cannot remember, but you guys will find out because I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of replays this afternoon. So we do have NightEnD scouting out Zenio right now. He does see the pool first build. This is something, as I've said before, it's the pretty standard build to open with against a protoss just because of risk of them doing something like cannoning you out or doing like a pylon wall off, something like that. And this map is going to be GSL dual site. I've never played on it. I have seen games casted on it. I'll give you guys a little bit of an overview. Essentially, you've got the natural here. It's got a pretty open choke coming here. It's got another one with this shrubbery, I guess you could call it, right here. Because the GSL map makers were like, we require a shrubbery. And then they were given one. And so that kind of walls off the thing. You've got a third right here, as well as, I believe, high yield. No, they actually, right, the GSO took out high yields. You've got another base right here, and then you've got bases at opposite ends of the map. So it is a map, it is a pretty close rush distance. You can see you kind of run down the ramp. There's 2 Zonaga towers, run up the other ramp. You're at their base. But it can also make for some very good macro games. And we'll have to see what happens right here, especially with NightEnD opening with the one base play. It will be kind of interesting to see whether he goes for any big aggression. Now, we do have some Zerglings out on the field from Zenio. He did make 4 of them, I believe, and I'd imagine he'd just get the Zonaga tower with one, or maybe just as one chasing a probe. He had that one patrolling around his natural, making sure there were no pylons, no funny business like that. And so we do have, he's going to be grabbing the Zonaga tower with these Zerglings. I'd imagine he would probably soon keep one right outside of the ramp. He also has this scouting overlord in position. So hopefully NightEnD does not come snipe that like he has the other one. And we do have the hatch coming down from Zenio. He did pull off gas after mining that 100 for a metabolic boost. So you can see he does already have the speedlings, and he's actually making a good number of them. Now, what I think this might be is it might be him gearing up to see if he can do any damage to the protoss when the protoss does choose to expand, as he will be soon. The only thing is I don't see why he hopes to do very much, just because, you know, as we can see, NightEnD is making sentries, and sentries are really the hard counter to Zerglings in almost every way. Sentry Zealot, so you can get a very nice expanding force to deal with any kind of Zergling pressure in the early game. And so it looks like NightEnD, he knows nothing's going to be happening, so he's just, you can see he's checking all over the map, making sure there's no proxy pylons, anything like that. Because, again, he's wary of the one base play, and this is something I'm definitely always wary of. I think most Zergs are when a Protoss opens with one base, just because you're fully aware that there is a risk of them doing something like a Fork-8. And so we do see a Spore on the way in case of maybe DTs or air, a Spine in case of a Fork-8, or some pressure or something like that. He does have the evolution chamber finished, so I guess I was just for the Spore Crawler. He's not getting upgrades out of it quite yet. And these Zerglings do spot the expansion timing. We see there's some very nice force fields coming down from NightEnD, making sure the Zerglings can actually attack his force. And I would expect Zenio to maybe do a little bit more pressure on this, but of course the force fields do have, they do have enough energy for about 3 more force fields. They could block this off. There can't be entrance into the main, but there's actually, they can actually run down below this. I have seen that be a big issue before. Where was it? It was, oh, it was right here, because it's underneath this. There's a spare spot, so looking from above, you can't really tell. But I've actually seen it happen before to, I think, Naniwa. He didn't put like a pylon there, and Zerglings just ran into his main because he didn't know because of this this overhanging tree. So definitely looks like Zenio. He's getting prepared for the macro game. You can see he's just pumping a whole lot of drones. These initial Zerglings are plenty for map control, and he does see this potential little move out coming from NightEnD, but it looks like he's not actually going to be going to. And of course, something you do for that, we do see him throwing down a spine crawler. Something a lot of Protoss players will do just because they want to say, hey, I might be moving out. You need to make units. You can't make drones. You can't grab your third. Stuff like that. And does it look like Zenio is starting to mine his gas now? So I'd imagine we would be seeing either the lair tech or an upgrade very soon. He has actually 3 gas on the way, so he's taking all of them at the same time. And he's going to be preparing to tech up here in a bit, and he's actually lost almost all of his Zerglings now. He only has 3 left. And if NightEnD chose to push out with this force, he could actually do a good amount of damage, and it looks like that might be what he is going to do. He's just kind of dancing back and forth, making sure there's no Zerglings doing any, no Zerglings scouting him, none that are going to run by, anything like that. And so, it's just going to be, no, that's an Overlord. So I'm interested to see what Zenio is going to do here. He is building the lair, so he will be able to get some tech up pretty soon. But he will also, he also has the option to grab a third right now, which is definitely what I would do, just because you want to try and stay ahead. But it does look like, I keep thinking NightEnd's going to push out. He's actually, I'd say he's doing a very good job keeping the Zerg on edge for whether he's going to push out or not. Now, he is grabbing a third, and NightEnD does indeed scout that third. He knows the exact timing on it. So he knows he's in normal position. There's no like super early third expansion, no crazy macro play. Well, we do have a Zealot running in right here. So the reason people do this is actually because a lot of times if the Zerg doesn't have forces, you can get a good scout off, just kind of running the Zealot into the main. Now, luckily for Zenio, he does have the spine crawler as well as these roaches, and it looks like he is going to be able to probably pick off the Zealot. Yes, he will once the roaches arrive. And so it looks like he's just going to be going for a pretty typical roach play with Infestor support. We do see that because of the +1 melee, and NightEnD actually going for the Blink Stalkers with the +1. He's also grabbing a Robo. So the Blink Stalkers with the Blink Stalkers is probably not, it's not too great against Infestor Roach, just because you can, well, actually a Changeling right here, he sees what's up, hopefully he does some scouting with that. But as I was saying, because the fungal growth can actually stop the Stalkers from blinking, and the Roaches can do a whole bunch of damage. So this could be kind of bad for NightEnD. Now, of course, the only caveat is the fact that now he does have that Robo on the way, so he's getting the Obs and the +2 as well. Very nice. But he does have the option to fairly quickly transition into Colossi or even Immortals if he wants to. And those would do wonders against the Roaches, of course. Immortals can, what can they do? They can 3-shot Roaches. So they're pretty intense. So it looks like, again, more dancing back and forth right here. We do have 5 Infestors on the way. I think we already might have a few on the field. And I would imagine Zenio, once he's done droning up here, he's going to have to saturate his third. We're going to see a whole bunch of Roaches start pouring out. And so right now, not very much has happened in this game. We can see less than a combined 1,000 resources lost for both players. So there's not been a whole lot of action. We do have the +1 melee attack on the way. More Infestors. This is a lot of Infestors. And he's going for a lot of Zerglings as well. I think he's almost just using this third for some extra larva production, but he does have a good number of drones there. Nice blink from NightEnD right there. Might have been a little bit of a waste. Only managed to pick off 2 or 3 Zerglings. But of course, because Zenio didn't like take advantage of that blink cooldown or anything, not a big deal. And so both players is, once again, just kind of dancing around the center of the map. No one knows exactly what to do. And actually, Zenio actually going for the Zergling Force, which is a really good option, just because Zerglings are actually really good against Stalkers. And if the Infestors can immobilize them, they'll do a lot of damage. Now we see NightEnD splitting up his Blink Stalkers so they can't be fungaled easily. Some very good force fields, but stopping the Zerglings. They would have prevented the Zerglings from getting out if they did actually attack. But a good job from Zenio making sure that a few of those force fields were indeed wasted. And he also is keeping some stalkers over here to make sure nothing happens. Yeah, and he's just kind of warding off the zerglings. He doesn't want them attacking. We see he is starting to get their robotic space, so he will be getting this colossi in response to that. Once again, no one has actually really lost anything. Now it's combined 1,043 resources lost. So only, I get 43 resources lost. So that would have been about 200 resources lost since I lost check, both from the zerg. So that's probably like 8 zerglings or something. And I was like, oh, he's actually going to catch a good number of zerglings. Oh, there is a hole on that far side, and those fast little zerglings, they do manage to get through. Can I rotate this? Yeah, so you can see there's the hole right there. But the fast those zerglings managing to get through. And Zenio is actually going to be running out of force fields here soon. And those force fields, I would say he actually kind of needs to save getting a pretty decent fungal on that pack of units right there. It looks like he's going to try and chain it, but too many of them get away. And I think what NightEnD is trying to do is just kind of trying to hold off all these units until he gets out more zealots and he gets out more colossi. Now, he does have the +3 on the way. But I would say NightEnD definitely needs to make something happen here, because even though he is currently ahead on the supply, of course the zerglings are kind of deceptively strong. He does especially with the +2 and the mutas on the way. Zenio is kind of starting to run away with the macro game here. We do see that he does have his 4th up and running, while Zenio is still on 2 bases. His main actually almost mined out, probably only about 1,200 more minerals there. His natural is about halfway mined out. So if NightEnD doesn't have something happen soon, Zenio is just going to kind of be able to, he's going to be maxed, but maxed on Infestor Zergling versus Blink Stalkers, especially with 4 bases up. He'll be able to rebuild that really quickly, and a 5th base on the way. And again, we do Zerglings actually at both of these expansions, doing a very good job watching for it. Now it looks like NightEnD is actually already prepared for mutas coming in. He does warp in a whole bunch of stalkers. Looks like we have Zenio trying to pick off as many probes as he can. He picks off maybe 3 or 4, and warping in some stalkers in the back right now. Though this is actually very good, just because it's harassing with those mutas forces him to make stalkers, but against the zerglings, the stalkers are not that good. So it looks like he is going to be trying to grab a 3rd now, but it is a little bit late. It's actually at the 17-minute mark. So that, again, Zenio is definitely in the lead in terms of macro. The zerglings are going to run in. They might try and force a cancel. They're going to see if they can kill that probe, but I guess not, just because the colossi is too scary. How many kills do they have already? 4, and I can't click them, 2. So they eat up zerglings for breakfast. And we do Zenio just kind of throwing down every tech he wants. He's making 10 spine crawlers with all his extra minerals. He's getting his hive, a baneling nest, along with his 5th base. More drones. He's getting drops for baneling drops, actually. This is something I used to do a lot versus protoss, and it can be really good. You've seen Mao's Maro actually do it, I think, in MOG. And it's a beautiful play if you do it right, because it just kind of totally negates force fields. So it will be interesting to see what happens when these players finally engage. Both are just kind of trying to get their maxed army. But I feel like NightEnD, he really has to push out now, because he is maxed. And every second he waits, the Zerg is going to be getting further ahead on tech. He's going to be getting a bigger resource bank. And he's just not going to be able to do a whole lot once it gets to a certain point. Now, we do have a fairly nice fungal going down. He does manage to pick off an infestor, though. He's actually picking off, 2, 3, 4 more infestors. So that is actually a pretty big loss for Zenio right there. He's going to lose even more infestors. Wow, he actually just lost, I think, every single one. Yes, he did. But, and looks like, actually, yes, NightEnD kind of made his way all the way to his base without me even realizing it. It's just a few blinks away. Looks like we do have a big push coming now. Zenio's trying just to spread out his banelings, but these banelings are going to get picked off, so that is not a nice feeling for Zerg, having units just kind of picked off. Looks like Zenio's actually just going to be going for a counterattack now. I would say this is probably the better choice. This is one of those situations your army is much more mobile, your army is pretty strong, but it's not strong enough to take on the Protoss army right away. So he's going to deny this 3rd, and I'd imagine we're going to see him run once he does deny this, except with the mutas, I guess. No, he's actually going to be running by with the Zerglings as well, so this is very good. He's kind of forcing a base race here. Zenio killing a whole bunch of probes. It looks like he's going to be trying his best to get the Nexus, but there's just too many Stalkers. In a second here, we'll get to see which unit Zenio is going to remax on, and it looks like it is going to be drones. So very interesting choice right there. He's up to 93 drones with 7 more on the way, 8 more on the way. So he's going to be at 101 drones in just a second here. And 101 Dalmatians is a very good movie. 101 drones, not quite as good. But we do have also 48 Zerglings, Baneling Speed, plus 2 Carapace, Greater Spire, and another Spire to get those double upgrades. So Zenio's just kind of in Zerg heaven almost. He's getting every piece of tech he wants. He's going to be picking off some more workers here. And at the same time, NightEnD is going to be coming. He's going to try and pick off this, I guess, this 5th. These spine crawlers are actually very nice for just kind of denying. You see, it gave drones the time to run. Of course, losing some drones wouldn't be that bad, but we see NightEnd's income just dropping and dropping. It looks like Zenio is going to be coming in. He's going to be picking off even more of these cannons, getting more probes. And so at this point, I think we're almost reaching a real base race situation, because NightEnD, even though he has this big army, once this thing dies, he's not going to be able to make too much more. And if he does not attack very soon, there is going to be a lot of Broodlords on the field. Looks like we have all these Zerglings running in. They're going to deny this 3rd for a second time this game. And this is just not looking very good for NightEnD. He has a very weak economy. This Zenio even taking the protoss is, I guess, is 4th or 5th, depending on which direction you expand in. Looks like the Zerglings running in. They're going to be maybe trying to get more probes or the Nexus, but the Blinkstalker's just coming in. Right now we have Zenio just with his Banelings. He's still got a pretty big Mutaflock. He's got 15 right there. And he does have 2 Broodlords on the way, as well as a whole bunch more Corruptors, Infestors, Adrenal Glands, and Neuroparasite. So this is, he's approaching actually an ideal Zerg late game combo. Wow, he's got 6 more Broodlords on the way, and this will really make it kind of ideal. Because with the Infestors, he can fungal the Blinkstalkers. They can't get under. And all the Zerglings will do a whole bunch of damage. The Broodlords will be a whole bunch of damage. So NightEnD, I don't think there's any way he can win this. There's 9 Broodlords on the field now. And this is just not good for NightEnD, just because you see he's long distance mining here because he doesn't have anything. This expansion getting killed. The Broodlings trying to do a little bit of work. But of course, Zenio, that was just kind of a manor expansion a little bit. Now he's going to scout this expansion coming up again. He does have a few Overlords kind of scattered around, but he doesn't see the Broodlords. And he might now, but this is going to be, it's actually probably going to come down to this engagement right here. These Spine Crawlers, once again, doing a very good job of warding off a whole bunch of these units. He's actually doing a very nice job chaining the Fungals on these guys right here. The Broodlords might get a good number of hits on it. I think at this point, Zenio's only option is almost to engage, because there's going to be the slow push. So we do have the engage coming down. Big Baneling hits, big fungal growths, a lot of damage being done by the Mutas. Even though the Blinkstalkers are right underneath the Broodlords, they're not doing a whole lot of damage. We can see there's still about 8 Broodlords on the field. And wow, okay, there's a quick pause there. Apparently NightEnD could not move. And so we do have him doing as much damage as he can with the Blinkstalkers. He's focusing everything down, but looks like all of those... all of the Stalkers are going to be going down, maybe, except Zealots are really good against Broodlings and Zerglings. And so we do have Zenio. He is retreating because he really doesn't have very much more anti-air, and he's going to need to be warping in a whole bunch of Stalkers as soon as he can. And we do see those right here. We have 11 Corruptors on the way from Zenio, and that's just kind of to totally take these Colossi out of the equation. And at this point, we see Zenio's up by about 20 food. Yeah, I can't really do math, but he's up by about 20-30 food. And NightEnD finally has his next base up and running, but you can see Zenio still kind of has about twice his income. And so again, this is kind of a war of attrition at this point, and it is not, it's not looking good for NightEnD, honestly. I know I've been saying that the entire game. Now that engagement, I do think he did a very good job with that, just because of where he engaged. The Zerglings couldn't do too much surrounding or anything. And I think he did almost as well as he could have possibly hoped to against a Zerg force like that, when it's been on so many bases for so long, especially against as good of a player as Zenio. We do have the expansion coming up here again. I think he's just kind of taking these to try and get a little more income if he wants to, as well as deny them longer for the Protoss, because of course the resulting creep would prevent expansion from going down. We do have Archons as well as Psystorm coming on the way now from NightEnD, and so I think actually now we're approaching a point where Zenio kind of has to attack, because if he doesn't attack soon, then those storms could do a lot of damage. Now he's going to kind of be shelling all of these cannons from a distance, and his positioning kind of working against NightEnD right here. He's not actually really able to get through the cannons, but here we have him warping in. Wow, so many High Templar at a time. He's really saving up. Looks like he's just going to be making Immortals out of those, or not Immortals, Archons. We do have Psystorm, which I believe is done now. I'm not sure why it's still on the production tab. We do have all these Broodlords kind of pushing in soon, and NightEnD is going to have to engage really, really soon, and Zenio's just kind of waiting for him. He's baiting him with the Broodlords, waiting to run in with all of these Zerglings and Banelings. Now, NightEnD does still have a few sentries in here. You can see all of them have almost maxed energy, so they're going to be able to do a good number of force fields. But I'm not really quite sure what's happening right now, or what more to say. Both players are just kind of dancing around each other, waiting to force the engagement. There's the blink forward from the Stalkers. Zenio getting some pretty big fungals off, and he's just going to be kind of stutter flying his Broodlords backwards. And you see the Broodlings are just kind of like raining down damage. It looks like his NightEnD is going to be maybe going for a counterattack. I think he's also just trying to get better positioning. But you see, again, there's so many Broodlings, and it just looks like NightEnd's army is constantly shrinking. Wow, good force fields there, catching probably about 12 Banelings in that. He is going to lose that Archon, though. Again, we just hit the Broodlords doing a whole bunch of damage. The Blinkstalkers do blink forward. Now it's going to come down to the Baneling hits the fungal growths. Looks like the Corruptors are trying to do as much damage as they can to the Colossi, but they're not doing it fast enough. Zenio's actually lost every single one of his Broodlords, and it looks like NightEnD actually is almost going to clean up the force. He actually is going to be able to clean up the entire thing. Now, the problem being, it's 60 to apply to 160 supply. I think he might have just lost the space. I might have totally missed it, so that wouldn't be good. I assume, yes, he did miss that base, just because we have a whole bunch of Zerglings kind of running loose in here now. So he's long distance mining to this one. He needs to just put all his probes on here, but he does. You see, he has no money. He cannot make more units. So Zenio is just kind of rallying Zerglings all across the map. And at this point, I don't think, yeah, NightEnD can't really do anything. There's just too many Zerglings. He has 24 supply right now, and it's probably almost all probes. Yeah, 24 supply with 20 probes. And there's the GG from NightEnD. And, yeah, so that game is kind of over. It was over quite a while ago. It was a very good game, very long one, longest one I've casted. So I hope I did an okay job with that. And this is only the first game in the series, so we do have 2 more on the way. So I will be bringing you guys that very soon after I get some water and try and make sure I can actually speak in the next cast. So I hope all of you guys enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you guys again in the next replay.